Good evening. Thank you for joining us. This is Nationwide on the network service of the NTA. I'm Ruth Aguela. Let's start on security note. 3 students of the Federal University of Agriculture, Makurdi, have been abducted. We'll be joining our correspondent, Godwin Analogu in Makurdi, for details on that and the cause of the bulletin. But let's look at other issues. Following attacks in Doma local government area of Nasarawa State, security agents have brought the situation under control in the state. Isa Mohammed, who visited the area, reports that the victims are, however, appealing for increased security presence to build confidence.
Though security agents have taken over the areas as at the time of visits to the communities, residents were still apprehensive. Those who could not stay were evacuating their belongings.
Now we are calling the government to come and to help us, to give us the security in this community, which is Opata. If not, we cannot be able to go to the farm.
Confirming the incidents, the Nasarawa State Police Command said, though a number of lives were lost, the situation has been brought under control.
Upon receipt of the information, a joint team of police and military personnel were deployed to the area, where 9 corpses were recovered, each with multiple machete cuts.
As at the time of filing in these reports, the state government has convened a stakeholders emergency security meeting to deliberate on the ways towards sustainable peace.
No need to fight among each other. Rather, there is need for everyone to embrace peace.
The attack, which was said to have started Saturday nights, spent till late hours of Sunday in 3 communities of Ajimaka, Doka, and Boyo, all of Doma local government area of Nasarawa State. In Lafia, I am Isa Muhammad, NTA News.
All right, let's turn our attention to health. This year's World Malaria Day calls for collective action against the scourge. Lending hands to the national efforts to end malaria in Nigeria is a non-governmental organization, Nation First Foundation, who took malaria intervention services to Jabi community here in Abuja. Let's hear more from Ekene Ndule.
Stand up, take action is the slogan for this year's World Malaria Day in Nigeria. To contribute to the action against the disease, Nation First Foundation was at Jabi community to provide insecticide-treated mosquito nets, malaria tests, and drugs at no cost to the residents.
It is possible in Nigeria. That is why we are partnering with the Ministry of Health through the National Malaria Elimination Program to see how we can fight together to eliminate malaria out of Nigeria.
To achieve malaria elimination, each and every one of us in Nigeria must stand up and take action. In the area of adhering to malaria intervention, the aspect of prevention.
After some health talks, residents felt better poised to fight the disease.
Right now here, they have taught us a lot about malaria.
I learned how to take care of malaria by using nets.
Malaria accounts for more than 60% of hospital visits in Nigeria, 20% of under 5 mortality, and 11% of maternal mortality.
The good news is that malaria is preventable and treatable. That is a major takeaway for this set of beneficiaries after a pep talk from the health practitioners. How far are they going to implement what they learned here today? That remains to be seen. In Abuja, Ekene Ndulwe, NTA News.
And to another health issue of concern, immunization, which has been acknowledged as one of the world's most successful health interventions, which has saved millions of lives yearly. Now, the low rate of vaccine coverage is worrisome to relevant authorities. Uche Ogochukwu in this report draws attention to the importance of not relegating other vaccines to the background as global efforts are directed to the COVID-19 vaccine.
The World Health Organization estimates that 2 to 3 million deaths are prevented annually through immunization. However, Nigeria is said to account for 30% of global unimmunized children aged 0 to 5 years, despite concerted efforts by stakeholders to reverse the trend. The coronavirus pandemic makes the situation more precarious, and the Health Organization is worried about a decline in successes achieved in the past years.
The WHO UNICEF estimate points to the fact that Nigeria, with all those investments, have been able to reduce the number of children unimmunized from 4.1 million to about 3.1 million just between 2017 to 2019, and this is really a significant feat. That notwithstanding, the 3.1 million is quite very high because it's the leading number in terms of unimmunized children globally.
People's attitude to vaccine in the face of COVID-19 is another issue of concern. Ibrahim and Iyabo are among the many not willing to take vaccines.
I'm not going to take. Nothing concern me with that one. I know they carry my children go there immunization because I don't like them.
The task before relevant bodies as highlighted in the 2021 World Immunization Week with the theme, Vaccines Bring Us Closer, is to build vaccine trust, raise and maintain vaccine acceptance among persons like Ibrahim and Iyabo. With efforts to increase confidence in vaccine, there is hope that the nearly 20 million unimmunized children would be reached. Uche Ogochukwu, NTA News.
Well, as Nigeria joins the World on Immunization Week for this year, let's expand the discourse, and we have in the studio Dr. Basi Okposen. He's the Director of Disease and Immunization, National Primary Healthcare Development Agency, to speak more on this. And the theme we know is vaccines brings us closer. Thank you for joining us, Mr. Basi.
Thank you. Good evening. Good evening, Nigerians.
Good evening. Dr. Basi, I beg your pardon. Let me not take out your title.
Yeah.
Okay, so looking at the rates the world is going now, a lot of attention is being paid on the COVID-19 vaccine. How do we bridge the gap, talking about routine immunization?
Okay, I think I want to commend the effort of the government at the national and all the sub-national, because they did a lot to change the trend in Nigeria.
Okay.
March ending last year, when there was COVID lockdown, there was a guideline. There shouldn't be outreaches, vaccination, things like that from the WHO. We had that guideline. But under the leadership of His Excellency the President, the Vice President, the Minister of Health, Dr. Hanire, and the Executive Director and PhD, Dr. Faisal, we went against that advice and developed a guideline for Nigerian health workers. We trained about 220,000 health workers, about 60,000 community mobilizers, and with that training that was given to the health workers were energized and able to go back and start working. Yes, we could see from that March ending to April there was a decline, but from May, immediately after that training, the immunization started picking up. And then with the immunization plus days that was flagged up by His Excellency the Vice President alone again, in September, we had the activity take place, and we could see the routine immunization activity again really picked up and went to its maximum. And this is something that even the CDC, in one of the meetings we had, and said Nigeria should document the experience and share with other African countries. And that experience we shared with so many African countries, they used it, and then that has really helped our health workers to not just concentrate on the COVID-19 vaccine now, but they are also doing the routine. And there is something else that with the leadership of the ED, the minister, that the country plans to do from the second phase of the COVID-19 vaccination, where we call the family approach, where once the parents come to the facility, they will not just receive the COVID-19 vaccine, but they will be screened for blood pressure,
for diabetes, for other common ailments, and then the women that will come with their children will also be vaccinated as a package. So that's a family approach that is also being given to it, because we don't want to see the COVID-19 vaccination being given attention where other services suffer.
So in other words, you're saying there is enough accessibility and, distribution of these vaccines going on, talking about the routine vaccination, immunization.
Yes.
It's not been left out.
It's not been left out.
Okay, now let's turn our attention to the COVID-19 vaccine, which we know the theme for this year, Immunization Week, is looking at vaccines bring us closer. But we're seeing that gap, there's still that bridge for trust when we're talking acceptance. A lot of people are yet to accept, to be immunized. What are your thoughts?
What I would just plead with Nigerians is to be patient with the government and the world and know that these vaccines are safe and effective and actually bring us closer, right? And when we say the theme for this year, the World Immunization Week, why it was given is because, with vaccination, a lot of vaccine-preventable diseases, some have been eradicated and some actually reduced. For instance, polio in Nigeria, we are no more going to have polio. Our children that are born now are free. We have been declared polio-free. Those children that would have been paralyzed will not be able to play football, will not be able to go to school. They are not paralyzed. They are available to go to school. They are drawn closer to reality. Those diseases like tuberculosis, the cervical cancer and the rest, there are vaccines that are available now. So people don't die the way they should die because these vaccines are available.
Yes.
The same is COVID-19 now. Remember last year when there was global lockdown, nobody was going
and there was no
People
hope.
were dying in millions. There was no hope. Now with the vaccines, we can hear all over the world there's relative peace now. UK has opened up. They are now going to offices, doing their business. America, the same thing. Nigeria, we are now free doing everything. It's not just good enough to remember what happened mid last year when everywhere was locked up. Vaccines that have come into the system have made things easier, bringing us closer to realities of being a healthier world. I want to reassure Nigerians these vaccines are safe and effective. Nigerians should learn the example of His Excellency the President, the Vice President, the Minister, the PTF Chairman, the Secretary to the Government of and all our ministers, the Executive Director, Dr. Faisal, and even myself, I took my jab. Even
ordinary Nigerians, we saw health workers, we saw a lot of people are accepting, but there's still that gap there. But since you talked about, the parent approach, when parents come to the hospital, they get vaccinated, aside the routine, they get vaccinated with the COVID-19. What about the rural communities? What kind of approach is being deployed to reach out to rural communities now, not just for COVID-19 vaccine, but the regular immunization, so that their children are not left out?
Okay. As a country, under the leadership of the Executive Director, Dr. Faisal, who is the chair of the Technical Working Group, we are using an innovative indigenous approach to offer the COVID-19 vaccine, which is called the TEACH strategy. In the TEACH strategy, the T there is the traditional way we were approaching our campaigns and routine immunization. The E day is electronic, where in our routine immunization, we were just using the manual analog to give our children card. But for the COVID-19 vaccination, we have gone ahead to do an e-registration. And it will not just stop with COVID-19 vaccine, it's going to translate into the childhood vaccination so that we also capture it electronically. And then the A of it, those that cannot register on their own, they are assisted to register. Then the concomitant part of it is the fact that if you are eligible, you walk to a health facility, during the process of vaccination, they will register you and vaccinate you. And then the H is the house to house. In those difficult areas, because we are monitoring the trend of people who are registering electronically online. So those areas with poor registrations, people are actually going to be engaged in the second phase to go house to house to register. And that will be mostly in the rural areas we talked about. And we are also, in the second phase, employ the strategy of fixed posts, the temporary fixed posts, and the mobile teams that will go to these hard-to-reach areas to ensure that all Nigerians are assessed and vaccinated.
Which is very, very critical.
Yes, yes.
They shouldn't be left out. Thank you very much, Dr. Basi Okposen.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
He is the Director of Disease and Immunization, National Primary Healthcare Development Agency, and keep up the good work.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, let's go on a short break. We're back. Stay tuned. You're there, and our first stop will be in Lagos, where Kende is already standing by to bring us some reports. Kende.
Ruth, and welcome to Lagos. Lagos State government is making extra efforts to ensure that the era of relying massively on food importation from neighboring states becomes a thing of the past. Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu disclosed this when he launched a landmark 5-year agricultural and food security roadmap in Lagos. Musa Taliat completes the report.
The launch of the 5-year agricultural and food security roadmap marks an all-inclusive journey into agricultural revolution in Lagos State.
I don't know if I'm handing back.
With more than 22 million population to feed, Lagos State is poised to unlock its immeasurable agricultural potential through the implementation of the 5-year roadmap that will largely be private sector driven.
Whilst we'll expect that most of this investment will come from the private sector, government will continue to provide the needed infrastructure to enhance the state's self-sufficiency in food production from a meager 18-20% to 40% and possibly 50% over the next 5 years.
Technology will be deployed to lower the cost of production of value chains, while the projection for total investment in the agricultural sector from the government, private sector, donor agencies and development partners is expected to run into over $10 billion in the next 5 years.
Currently, we have only just about 20% production in Lagos. 80% of what we consume is coming from other parts of the country or is imported. We need to start taking action. We need to start putting our resources together towards ensuring that we are food secure.
A panel of discussants on ways to attract investments in Lagos agro sector was an integral part of the event. In Lagos, Musa Toliad, NTA News.
And now to security, tackling the challenges of insecurity in the country, but addressing the welfare and infrastructural needs of security operatives is the right way to go. But it is one that requires a broad synergy among relevant institutions. The Executive Secretary of the Nigerian Police Trust Fund, Ahmed Ali Sokoto, said this during a visit to the Nigerian Port Authority in Lagos. Adini Taiwo completes the report.
Up by the Nigerian Police Trust Fund Establishment Act 2019, the Trust Fund has a mandate to provide funds for training and welfare of personnel of the Nigerian Police, as well as provide infrastructure needed by the force to secure the nation. Apart from earning 0.5% of total revenue of the Federation account, the Act also mandates companies operating in the country to support the fund with 0.005% of their profits. This visit to the Nigerian Port Authority by the top management of the fund, led by its Executive Secretary Ahmed Ali Sokoto, is part of the drive to garner needed support towards the realization of its mandate, especially now that the infrastructural need of the police is made more acute by attacks on its facilities.
Presently, the trust fund depends substantially on the revenue accruing from the Federation account. It is obvious that this source of revenue alone cannot sustain the trust fund and the attainment of its mandate.
Managing Director of NPA, Adiza Bala Usman, acknowledged the need for public and private institutions to support security agencies using such platforms as Nigerian Police Trust Fund.
We have seen the way Nigerian police force was stretched during the NSAS protest, and that is an area where all of us as Nigerian citizens recognize the gap that exists and recognize the need for agencies of government and indeed private sector to accommodate and provide the necessary support to build a police force that would enable us provide the attendant security needed.
The collaboration between the two agencies is expected to be replicated as management of the Nigerian Police Trust Fund continues its consultation with other institutions. In Lagos, Adini Taiwo, NTA News.
And that's our contribution from Lagos. Ruth, it's back to you.
Thank you very much, Kende. Senate is considering a bill that seeks to establish National Institute for Border Studies in Meko, Ogun State. At a public hearing convened by the Senate Committee on Tertiary Institutions and TET Fund on the bill, participants concord that a scientific study of borders will add value to Nigeria's border management and policing, improved cooperation between Nigeria and its neighboring countries, and the promotion of commercial activities were some of the expected benefits of the bill.
infrastructural need while balancing access to education among diverse demographics in the country, thereby closing of the gap in border management.
The case for the National Institute for Border Studies is security related and seeks to boost the quality of services offered by agencies at our borders.
Is the need for the country to do better with the way it positions itself in terms of human capital and indeed the infrastructure of managing its international boundaries and borderlands.
The expectation that the operation of that institute will draw participation, studentship from security outfits, customs, immigrations, and so on and so forth.
Tolu Odebiyi is the sponsor of the bill, which seeks to establish Nigeria's first institution on border studies. Federal government has questioned the report of a survey conducted by the World Bank, which claimed that 78% of electricity consumers in the country get less than 12 hours of daily supply. A statement by the Special Advisor to the President on Infrastructure, Ahmed Rufai Zakari, says it is unclear what empirical evidence the World Bank used to arrive at the figures, insisting that power distribution to consumers in the country is steadily improving. Federal government says empirical evidence from the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission shows that only 55% of electricity customers connected to the grid are in tariff bands D and E, who have less than 12 hours supply. On the prepaid meters, where World Bank report claimed that 58% of electricity consumers in the country do not have meters to measure electricity use, federal government disagrees with the report, insisting that data obtained by the bank are unverifiable. With the robust working relationship it enjoys with the bank, especially in the implementation of power sector recovery program, federal government wonders why such a report is released without input of other key players in the sector. All right, Minister of State, Labour and Employment Festus Keyamo says the federal government's special public works scheme intended to provide modest stipends to skilled, semi-skilled and unskilled Nigerians is yielding the desired result. Achibong Bassi reports that the minister, while assessing the impact of the scheme in Calabar, applauds the President Muhammadu Buhari's administration for the initiative, which also aims at achieving a cleaner and hygienic Nigeria.
The Special Public Works Scheme is one of the 4 core programs of the National Directorate of Employment, designed to explore employment opportunities that abound in the public sector by engaging 1,000 skilled, semi-skilled, and unskilled persons in each of the 777 local government areas in Nigeria. Participants in the short-term engagement of a scheme which spans for a period of 3 months are to be paid a monthly allowance of 20,000 naira.
All of you will be paid, every kobo you will be paid, so be rest assured. I'm sure you know payments have started. Yes. And you know I issued a public statement as to why the payment was delayed. Yes, the banks delayed it because there were too many discrepancies, and we didn't want fraud.
This beneficiary, Inakepe Solomon from Obanliku local government area of Cross River State, shares his testimony about the scheme.
Thank you to His Excellency President Muhammadu Buhari. The beneficiary of Calabar Municipal are very grateful. I mean, this is a relief. Though it's little to what they are giving, but it means a whole lot to my family.
The minister and his team are also expected to monitor the compliance level of the scheme in other parts of the country. In Calabar, Achibong Bassi, NTA News.
The alleged fire outbreak at the Imo State House of Assembly Sunday night that went viral on social media, though the report turned out to be false. Well, our correspondent Beatrice Ayam, who visited the Assembly complex, has a situation report for us.
The social media was awash with this video Sunday night, purported to be the Imo State House of Assembly on fire. The impact was massive as fear gripped residents of Imo State who saw it as another attack coming just after the one targeted at the country home of Governor Hope Uzodimma.
This is the gate of the Imo State House of Assembly temporary site. The lawmakers are not on seat due to the ongoing nationwide strike embarked upon by the Parliamentary Staff Association of Nigeria. But you can see that the assembly complex is intact, as against the rumor making the rounds that the Imo State House of Assembly has been gutted by fire.
A visit to the permanent site of the Imo State House of Assembly also shows no trace of fire incident.
I've received a lot of calls, both from inboard and abroad, concerning this issue, which is very, very unfortunate. It is not true. The House of Assembly is intact. The both houses are intact.
The police public relations officer, Imo State Command, Orlando Ikoku, had earlier condemned the fake news, urging Nigerians to be wary of peddlers of falsehood. In Owerri, Beatrice Anyam, NTA News.
Well, Nigerians must shun political party differences and rise up to the task of solving the nation's security challenges collectively. Now, this was the position of the Inter-Party Advisory Council at a peace conference tagged Let's Talk Politics. Timothy Yusuf reports.
Every political leader should be held accountable for inactions or actions that is either directly perpetrated by him or his troop or his followers.
This gathering of like minds is premised on one agenda: politics without violence. Participants believe that there is no alternative to peace and reminded the political class that the task of ensuring a peaceful Nigeria is a collective responsibility.
Ensure that everybody says that which is right and verifiable.
Everything must be done to de-emphasize violence. Again, this will not produce good leadership in the land.
Embrace the opportunities available in the political space of this country to be able to stand up and have a voice.
While urging the youth to remain as agents of change, considering their posture as future leaders, they must realize that politics is for development and not for perpetrating violence.
And what I can say to younger population, don't give up. You have to try in a more strident manner to keep trying.
It's for us to be encouraged to get involved so that not only in making good policies, but also to make sure that those policies are implemented.
The conference maintains that dialogue remains the best option for conflict resolution. In Abuja, Timothy Yusuf, NTA News.
FCT Minister of State Ramatu Tijani Aliyu has called on Muslims and non-Muslims in the territory to, in the spirit of Ramadan, express love beyond the Ramadan and put aside all vices set to separate them from one another and live in unity. She stated this at a special iftar organized by her family in Abuja. Let's hear more from Ifeanyi Zumba.
Iftar, which means breaking of fast in the evening after the day-long fast, is believed to be the directive of Allah, who made it an obligation for all Muslims in the month of Ramadan. It is also one of the 5 pillars of Islam. FCT Minister of State Ramatu Tijani Aliyu enjoined all Muslims and residents in the FCT to share love, care for one another, and give to the needy.
It's about bonding. It's also about giving, sharing. It's about loving one another. And that is what we need in this Ramadan. That is what we are preaching, because that is what Islam is all about.
Brethren and sisters, to this God's occasion for them to come and break their fast.
A traditional ruler from Ebira land, the Ohinoyi of Ebira land, Ado Ibrahim III, prayed for the continuous peace of the nation, as well as the minister and her family.
And all of us who are here and witness the blessings, the prayers, the preachings of people who know very well. All God bless all of us.
The month of Ramadan is very significant in Islamic faith. It is said that during this pious month, the gates of heaven are opened while the devils are chained behind closed doors of hell. It was also in the month of Ramadan that the Quran was first revealed to the Prophet Muhammad. Peace and blessings be unto him. In Abuja, Ifeanyi Zumba, NTA News.
All right, our next stop will be Port Harcourt, and Jenny is set to guide us. Jenny.
Good evening and welcome.
3 persons have lost their lives with another one in critical condition over cult-related clashes at the Diop area of Port Harcourt Thursday evening. Robinson Derataide reports that the Nigeria police confirmed incident with assurance to bring perpetrators to book.
Kidnapping for ransom has remained a major security concern in Rivers State. The last 2 months, however, witnessed gallantry rescue of 3 high personalities by the officers of the anti-kidnapping squad of the Nigeria Police, led by ACP Edward Chedera. The paramount ruler of Ikiru in Andoni Local Council, Aaron Miller, and a senior lecturer at the University of Port Harcourt, Dr. Jones Ayuwo, gained freedom after spending about a month in the hand of their captors. The latest was the chairman of Kreka Local Council, Philemon Kingoli, who was rescued few days to his re-election.
Kreka Local Government Chairman who was kidnapped on the 6th of April 2021. Some days after, he was freed from the hands of his abductors, and that was on the 16th of April 2021. The lecturer was released. The traditional was also kidnapped simultaneously with the lecturer from the same community, was released some days after.
While close watchers believe the police deserves commendation for its rescue tactics, they contend that the recently formed joint security outfit, codenamed C4I, the anti-kidnapping squad, and the various vigilante groups should be geared towards intelligent gathering. The police, in its operation, also exhumed the body of the chairman, Kerekwemboe Community Development Committee in Ogoni, who was reportedly buried alive a few weeks ago at a forest. In Port Harcourt, Robinson Derataide, NTA News.
As various states of the Federation await the takeoff of the second phase of COVID-19 vaccination rollout, emphasis has been placed on improved access to facilities, especially in the rural areas, and adequate sensitization of the populace on the need to be vaccinated. Ijeoma Ogweke reports.
The government policy on vaccination rollout is programmed in phases to first accommodate top government officials, frontline workers and stakeholders, including journalists and security agents. The first phase, which is rounding off in parts of Rivers State, has been challenged by human factors such as access to facilities and fears on the efficacy of the vaccine. This, medical experts say, contributed to low response from many quarters.
The vaccines were programmed by the federal government and the states. And with that programming, they have a specific number they will bring out in a day, and a specific number they're supposed to target. And as they open the vaccine, it's supposed to be utilized.
We've not had any anaphylactic reaction or somebody going into shock. We've had a few side effects, yes, but in 2-3 days, they're okay and they're about their business.
As the program is receiving attention in terms of provision of storage facilities and vaccines, stakeholders advocate adequate sensitization of the populace towards acceptance of the vaccine, as the second phase captures the elderly, physically challenged, and others.
I took it over 2 weeks ago. You could even see the card on my palm, on my hand. I am therefore advising everybody to go to any of these centers and have his or herself vaccinated.
The arrival of the 150,000 doses of AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccines in Rivers State signaled a permanent solution to ending the pandemic. In Port Harcourt, Ijeoma Ogweke, NTA News.
And that's it from here. Ruth is back to you in Abuja.
Thank you very much, Jenny. As this year's Ramadan fast continues, public office holders have been tasked to shun corrupt tendencies and work not only, to deliver campaign promises, but also to empower the youth as a way of controlling sectional crises among major ethnic groups in the country. Now, this formed part of the discussions at the 17th Annual National Ramadan Lecture by the Muslims Association of Nigeria, held in Abuja, Ogun State. Hakim Jumo's report is here presented.
The Chief Imam, Federal University of Agriculture, Muslim Community, Abuja, Professor Idris Ayinde, listed corruption, godfatherism, lack of integrity and accountability, among others, as some of the challenges militating against the entrenchment of good governance, apart from denting the image of Nigeria in the Committee of Nations. For Nigeria to end cases of insecurity and ethnic crisis in some parts of the country, Professor Ayinde maps out the strategies.
They should create jobs or even give facilities for people to be able to access meaningful jobs so that they will be on their own.
Ogun State Deputy Governor Noimo Salako Oyedele represented and other guests in their goodwill messages cautioned Nigerians against religious bigotry, intolerance, gangsterism, and electoral violence.
You have the right to speak your mind, and the government has the opportunity to listen to you, correct the mistakes. There's no perfection in any system.
The theme of the lecture was towards enduring political structure for Nigerian nation, panacea from Islamic perspective.
Intellectual property contributes to the flourishing of music, movies, literary works, and arts in general, towards driving the technological innovation that is shaping our world. On this year's commemoration of World Intellectual Property Day, the Nigerian Copyrights Commission and key players in the creative industry are asking the government to help fight against piracy of their intellectual property. Sarafina Okonumekwe reports.
This year's World Intellectual Property Day focuses on the critical role of small and medium enterprises in the economy, thereby building a stronger, more competitive and resilient business. With the theme, Intellectual Property and SMEs, taking your ideas to markets, highlights SMEs as the engine room that drives the economy, as it accounts for 90% of employment locally and 70% global employment.
We've had times where these guys pirate intellectual properties of people and you cannot do anything. In fact, the truth is we've gotten to an extent in the industry where piracy is now like a part of the industry. It's a movie I produced, Mr. and Mrs. Onoja, and then I was in the traffic with the director. I saw them selling the film. Movie that we have not released.
As producers call on government at all levels to help fight piracy to a halt and implement policies that will help artists have a one-digit interest loan.
It is one thing to have the law, it is another one to enforce. Now, the work time that we have, you used to have men sent on the streets by the Copyright Commission, by the Patent and Trademarks Body, to go out and get to the motor parks, markets, to go and seize pirated copies of property. But then it is now so difficult.
Most people create and don't quite appreciate the value of that work. They look at the value today, forgetting that most creations, most works appreciate in value.
Piracy, no doubt, remains a major threat in the entertainment industry. Serafina Okun-Umekwe, NTA News.
The life of 10 widows in a Aleta community in Abuja has taken a turn for the better. They are the latest beneficiaries of Rotary Club of Garki Abuja Empowerment Program held at the residence of the Chief of Aleta community. Let's hear more from Calvin Ahunwaye.
The 10 beneficiaries were selected by a selection committee who carried out a need assessment on their situation and recommended that the selected widows be supported to expand their petty trade. Each of them received items based on what they trade in, ranging from bags of assorted grains, hundreds of tubers of yam, several crates of soft drinks and grinding machines, among others. The items are meant to boost the income of the widows and improve their well-being.
Many are there to eat 3 square meals with the family, the children. They don't have. But one person can do this, but they don't have the heart of doing it. People that can come together, contribute, and come and help poor people like us, God will open doors for them.
It is the second time Rotary Club of Garki will be empowering Ayetila community, having sited a healthcare center there a few years ago. And the club says it will continue to take community outreaches very seriously as part of its core 7 areas of focus.
You don't have to be a rich man or a woman to be in Rotary.
And anyone that has a heart to give is one that we welcome in Rotary. You know, there are many rich people who have so much, but they don't have the heart to give. So those can't be Rotarians. But out of the little we have, we're able to make efforts to reach out to them. That is why we're here as a family, and you are seeing us doing good things. We have left everything we have to do today so that we can be with the widows.
The Widow Empowerment Program was executed with largely contributions from members of the Rotary Club of Gariki. In Abuja, Kelvin Ewonwaye, NTA News.
Let's go on another break. We're back, so you stay tuned. 5 new cases of the infection have been recorded nationwide within the last 24 hours, bringing the country's total confirmed cases to 164,719. The Nigeria Center for Disease Control indicates that among the new cases, Lagos has 18, Rivers 7, Oyo 6, FCT 2, while Ekiti and Kaduna states recorded a case each. Active cases nationwide are 7,732. Those discharged so far stands at 154,926, while death toll is 2,062. All right, the All Progressives Congress Advocate Forum has challenged Nigerians to judge the Minister of Communications and Digital Economy, Issa Ali Pantami, on his service recorded in office and not his past comments. Addressing the media in Abuja, leader of the APC advocate group, Kabiru Duhu, appealed to Nigerians, particularly interested parties, to avoid the campaign of calumny against the Minister of Communications and Digital Economy, especially the alleged false claims that he has been on America's terror watch list. The group has called for support and cooperation from well-meaning members of the public to fast-track the ministry's ongoing reforms that are positively affecting the country's image.
Policy for indigenous content development in the Nigeria telecommunications sector, July 2020. This policy will promote indigenous content in the telecommunications sector by focusing on key areas where the development of such capacity will have the greatest level of impact. Policy approved by President Muhammadu Buhari on the 8th of March 2021. Furthermore, the telecommunications sector recorded a growth rate in 15.90%, and this was its highest growth rate in the last 10 years. With all this outlined achievement, we make bold to declare that Dr. Issa Fantami has done well and should be judged by his work in office, not by ethics that he had long recanted and for which he is Boko Haram's #1 enemy today. We stand by the presidency.
The APC Advocate Group also commended the leading role of Issa Ali Pantami in the fight against terrorism in Nigeria. Speaker, House of Representatives Femi Gbajabiamila has expressed absolute confidence of Nigeria's House of Representatives in the genuine commitment of President Muhammadu Buhari to put an end to the security challenges bedeviling the country. And this was after a strategic engagement with the President on the state of the nation. The Speaker, accompanied by the Leader of the House, Alhassan Ado Doguwa, exchanged ideas and rubbed minds with the Nigerian leader on the best way forward towards addressing issues of security, social and economic situation of the country. Speaking to newsmen after the meeting that lasted more than an hour, Speaker Femi Gbajabiamila described the engagement as fruitful and reassuring.
He has a listening ear, and we profile ideas. You know, he tells us his own views, and we come to some consensus one way or the other. You cannot be privy to them for now. We're still working on a way out. All I will always say, and I say all the time, uneasy lies the head that wears the crown. The president is dealing with a very, very difficult situation, and he's as passionate as anybody else to bring it to closure. And we are here to help him bring it to closure. You're aware that the House of Representatives some time ago passed a resolution. We set up an ad hoc committee, a special ad hoc committee, which is headed by, which involves all principal officers and 30 other members of the House. And we're going to start that process into looking at different solutions, and we'll be bringing the report to Mr. President. He's fully aware of it, and he's open to anything and everything, and that will help us in coming to a resolution in this matter.
All right, let's make a stop now at Benin, and Obehi is set to guide us. All right, we seem to be having a challenge with the signal from Benin, but let's continue from here. The need for Nigeria to institute and enforce domestic policies that will curb the excesses of the ECOWAS Protocol on Free Movement has re-echoed on NTA's Good Morning Nigeria. International affairs experts observe that the proliferation of small arms and light weapons, as well as drug trafficking, are indications that Nigeria is at the receiving end of the Free Movement Protocol and needs to reverse the trend. Lydia Sampson reports.
Laudable as the intention of ECOWAS Free Movement Protocol is in terms of economic integration, the guest says negative developments, especially the free movement of small arms by non-state actors and the insecurity in the region, calls for a return to the drawing board for a review. The absence of legal document which is binding on member states is a major challenge that must be looked into.
It boils down to commitment of member states. Their financial obligations must be met. The parliamentarians, or there is a collaboration, parliamentary collaboration within the ECOWAS region. They should assist. Border controls, strong border controls are supposed to be put in place by member states.
We have a lot in our hands. Drugs coming in all in the name of the Protocol on Free Movement. Huge pilage of arms coming in all in the name of Free Movement Protocols. Trafficking in human beings.
They suggested regular interface between ECOWAS and the Central African Economic and Monetary Committee, CEMAC, stressing that Nigeria should be mindful of influence of external criminal elements targeting not just ECOWAS, but the nation's sovereign will.
Nigeria should up its game, get its act together, and then to lead. I'm telling you, this lack of implementation, by the time Nigeria takes concrete action and tells the people, the body language alone will tell the others that, you cannot but obey.
Some of the political class get these arms illegally and share it to their party member in order to suppress the opposition. And eventually, when these arms get to the hand of, people that are not supposed to hold the arm, it becomes very difficult to retrieve this arm from them. We must remind ourselves that the consequence effect of this, if we did not take proper position today, will consume all of us.
The guys note that keeping an eagle eye on Ghana, which is a major producer of local weapons, will go a long way in curbing the proliferation of small arms and light weapons across the sub-region. In Abuja, Lydia Sampson, NTA News.
And we're done. Thank you for your time with us. We really appreciate it. But let's keep up on the fight against rape and rapists. Together we can win. I'm Ruth Aguele. Enjoy your evening.